Greetings and salutations. Hope everyone is well. And somebody sent me $100 to make this video, and I said, "All right, I'm gonna make this video." And they wanted to know who I thought would be the victor between the 25th Bam versus Monkey D. Luffy. I think because I cover both of these series, and obviously there's been a little bit of overlap with some of the things Oda and SIU have been not doing so well. Maybe some people are, thinking about the two characters and whatnot, but I'm not here alone. I'm not doing this by myself. I'm joined by my good friend Pat. Say hello to the people. And to kind of keep this simple, what I'm going to basically do is kind of argue on Bam's behalf, and he's going to argue on Luffy's behalf, and you guys will decide who you think wins in the end based on the arguments or on your own thoughts. If anything you think we forgot to mention, you can bring it up in the comment section. I'm trying to think about any other preamble that I need to do. I am not, those power scalers, so I'm not talking about multi-universal plus count. I'm not doing that. I don't. He's 862 times massively faster than light. I'm not doing that nonsense. If you need that, go somewhere else, because I do not power scale like that. And to be honest with you, my power scaling days died in like 2012, 2013, because I was tired of debating Superman and Goku. So there you got it. There you have it. As for rules, I think sometimes when people do this, they kind of like take the fun out of it, because they'll be like, "Well, Naruto can't beat Ichigo because he can't see him," and I was like, "Why have the discussion then? What's the point? Just don't bother then." So obviously, what I tend to do, Pat, and I don't know if you agree with this, if let's say Bam hits Luffy with any move that's not using Shinsu reinforcement or Shinsu attack, it doesn't hurt him because it's just blunt force trauma. So he has to code an attack in Shinsu for it to hurt for it to hurt Luffy. So I'm not gonna be like, Haki and Shinsu are like they're different, obviously, but I'm gonna still treat both power systems kind of fairly, or else it kind of wouldn't make any sense. I don't know if you think that's fair.
No, that makes sense.
I would do the same thing if it was like chakra. Like if Naruto just did taijutsu against Luffy, it's not hurting him. But if he, I don't know, coated his hands in some Jukin, whatever, I said Jukin ko, gentle fists, whatever, like, that would work. So kind of like that. But all right, so to start us off, first thing I want to say is I do not think there's a single stat physically that Bam has over Luffy. I don't know if you agree or disagree with that. I don't think he's faster. I don't think he's stronger. I don't think he could take more damage and or punishment. Do you agree with that?
I agree.
Do you think the difference is like night and day, or just demonstrably in Luffy's favor?
I feel like there are a lot of unknowns to what Bam is capable of that makes this debate a little bit tricky, because we're starting to see the full scope of Luffy's capabilities, and he's approaching his peak potential where One Piece is at right now. He's fighting all the top tiers in the verse. Literally took down the top tier not too long ago. So now we're starting to get a basic feel for where Luffy would be at if we were doing cross-verse death battle matchups, if you will.
Yeah. Because Bam has yet to really go all out currently with all the things he has, with Leviathan, the Black March, Two Thorns, the Blue Demon, the Red Thressa, whatever, all that stuff. Get the souls, White's power. Like he hasn't been pushed to his limit. He hasn't had to use all of his power yet. At most, he might ignite a thorn or kind of go in his true self mode when he was fighting Caliban. He had the horns out. Kind of the same way when he was fighting Data Jihad on the hidden floor, when he kind of stabbed himself with the needle and was administrating the power of administrator. Showing off the power of an administrator, which would mean that he can kind of control the flow of energy. But I don't think that would be a major factor here, like the administrator's power necessarily, because we're not in the tower necessarily. But I do want to talk about endurance real quick, because I do think this one is a weird one. I do think, no matter how you put it, Luffy has more willpower and endurance than Bam. I don't really think that's debatable. But Luffy has a bad tendency to burn through his mana meter really quickly, where like things like Snake Man and Gear 5th, he can't stay in it forever, and when he's out of it, he's kind of free. If you think about I know against Kaido he went back into it like right after, but recently as I think it was chapter 10,000, was it 94? Whatever, I don't remember what it was. But when he ran out of like energy fighting Kizaru, and then Frankie kind of had to protect him. So in my opinion, that's kind of Bam's win condition. I see this fight as like a zoner versus a rushdown. Can Bam kind of last long enough that Luffy burns all his energy trying to take him out, so to speak? Because like
That's a valid point.
yeah, because all of Luffy's like it's weird because I do not think that Bam has more stamina than him. I don't think he has more willpower and overall vitality. But it's just like even as early as Gear Second, a lot of the times, it take a lot out of him. Because he tends to kind of not really hold back, and I respect that about him. Let's be honest, I kind of like that. He's not Goku. Goku likes to he likes to play tickle butt before he gets serious. Like and Luffy just goes, all right, I'm trying to put you down. Bam's got like a plethora of projectiles and abilities that he can throw at Luffy. But what I find interesting now is how those attacks might interact with Gear Fifth. Like a Shinsu blast turning into like a rubber beam or something like that. Like I think that could be interesting. Kind of like a Moral Breath. I know he just reflected it. He didn't turn that into rubber, but he did turn lightning into rubber. So it's kind of crazy. Like I wonder how those interactions would go. Like what do you think? Like he could just kind of tune force it up, so to speak.
Yeah, Gear Fifth kind of adds another dynamic to any matchup that Luffy would be in because they would essentially be subjected to being Looney Tunes no matter what. Like it's just like if Yu-Gi-Oh! Pegasus plays Toon World, they're all gonna be in that shit.
Yeah.
So I could see him doing to the Boro Breath. I mean to the Shinsu waves, like what he did with the Boro Breath. Like he just pick up a side of the wall or a piece of the tower or something and knock it back.
Or like swing around it like it's like a pole, like you were doing the lightning. So
Yeah.
that could be interesting. Though I do think Bam has moves that can pierce and cut Luffy. So I don't know if you remember when Doom tried to turn him into a canine person when he kind of first woke up, and then all of a sudden Bam was able to use transformations with like certain powers that he had. So his red Theresa would turn into like that sword on his arm. He used that to cut off Godot's leg. That was one of Yamo's top people. I think second in command. Because I think Kanzan was third. And then he also used it against this the Mudflat Snake pretty recently, and he's pulled it out a couple times. Then he had the little blue shield he used against Caliban to defend against him, and then he ended up using this teleporting arrow that he used against Kelhelm, so he could possibly use like the arrow if he wanted. Like if he was able to figure this out, maybe he might try to teleport Luffy into the water. I don't know if that's viable because I'm not sure how Bam would figure out that Devil Fruit users are weak to the ocean. I know that Shinsu literally like translates into divine water, but I don't think that means that if he uses like his Shinsu that kind of looks water-like and encases Luffy in it, that he won't be able to like break out or swim. I don't think that's the case. I don't know if you guys in the comments think differently. You can let me know, but I'm not gonna go that far personally.
Yeah, isn't Shinsu's just literally the air that surrounds them and the energy that's in the air, isn't it? Wasn't that established in season one?
It's the sky,
Yeah.
it's the light, but it's also like attacks and whatnot. But it just translates to divine water, and I feel like because it's water, people might go like, "Oh, it's water, therefore devil fruits." So, but I'm like, nah, I'm not gonna go that far personally. I don't think that works in this scenario because they're like the Shinsu could still take on different qualities and properties, like be sticky, be fire, be electricity, Giansulas and stuff like that. So it's not
Well,
literally water. Yeah.
until we fully understand Devil Fruit's origins, when we get the Void Century flashback, I don't want to use that because One Piece does make it a point of emphasis to specify that it's sea water
Yes.
that they can't make contact with.
And if it's not, usually I think it just they might be weakened, but they'll be fine. Like I know when they were kind of like bathing in Film Z when Aokiji was in there,
Yeah.
they were all kind of like nah, but they're okay though. There's so yeah, I'm with you there. But what do you if you had to kind of lay out a win condition for Luffy? What do you think it would be? Just kind of like overwhelming him with physicality?
For Luffy, I think it would be speed and his precognitive abilities with his observation hockey. If Bam is not up to par in terms of attacking speed, then it'll probably be a pretty easy day for Luffy because he'll be able to read any attack that's going to come his way and dodge it with no issue.
We spoke about this a little bit off stream, but Bam was trained by Ha Jin Sung, who's a martial artist and a technician from the Ha family. So he's very well trained in terms of fights, and a lot recently, a lot of times when he kind of like parries an attack, it's very in line with what you might see in like a kung fu film, like martial arts. He did this even recently to El Baba. Well, El Baba kind of countered it. He kind of like did this like clean push off of his hand to the side and hit him with an uppercut, then hit him in his chest with a palm, like with his palm. I think Luffy is not like, he's not trained in the traditional sense where he has like martial arts skills. I don't think that makes him a bad combatant. And I do think sometimes in these kind of scenarios, which is kind of weird, it could work in Luffy's favor, because I believe sometimes when you're immersed in one thing in a world sometimes, if you're playing or fighting or going up against somebody who's not in it, they'll do things that are completely unexpected to you because you're not used to it. So I'll give you 2 examples. I'll never forget. I'm so embarrassed by it. I'll never forget one of the times I was playing one of my friends. I still won the fight, but like he kind of just threw out a raw falcon punch, and I was like, why would you do that? But like I didn't react because it hit me. I lost a stock because I was like, no one does that. Like I'm not used to people doing that, right? And then so I was like, wait, why would you just raw falcon punch in the middle of neutral? So he threw me off. And I find that I throw off a lot of Pokemon players because they'll be like, okay, I threw out a Charizard, you threw out a Blastoise, you think I'm going to switch to Venusaur or something? Like, no, I'm clicking Fire Blast. I'm an ape. I don't give a fuck. And then they might switch to something, and then they get hit by Fire Blast, and it's super effective because they thought I was going to do something else. So I don't know if you think that could play into it, but I do think that if you want to go super technical, Luffy is the superior martial artist, but I don't think he's nearly as fast and as strong as Luffy.
Yeah, I feel like with Luffy, it's he's determined to just throw punches, and one of them bitches is gonna land. Like, that's his mentality. I'm gonna keep punching and punching and punching and overwhelm you until you get hit. Because his main goal is always to punch somebody in the mouth. That's one thing I love about him. He'll hit anybody in the face. Mm-hmm. But with Bam, it's more of a wait and see approach. So if we were to apply like limiters and say no gear second, no thorn, just base form, you get into a ring, you either win by submission, ring out, or knockout. Mm-hmm. I think Bam could probably beat Luffy in that scenario.
Interesting.
Because Luffy will keep throwing punches and Bam will do what you just said. Well, he'll redirect it, counter, sidestep, dodge. And he'll probably frustrate Luffy.
Like it just becomes like it's kind of like the physically superior athlete that doesn't really know how to fight, so to speak. Though Luffy is more experienced in combat versus somebody who literally is like a mixed martial artist who knows like jiu-jitsu and this and that and the third. So that's interesting. I kind of agree with that. How many attacks can Bam take from Luffy, do you think, though, that before he goes down? Like how much punishment can he take? Bam's not frail, but he's not Luffy.
Yeah. I think he could withstand everything in base and gear second. Mm-hmm. A gear third punch, he'll probably have to use like his thorns to block something of that magnitude, especially if Luffy uses Haki and he's like Elephant Gun or like Grizzly Magnum or Elephant Gatling.
Or even with Conquerors around it. Or like the Ryoya that does internal damage, I did with Kaido. Because I think that still matters, the internal little damage thing. I tend to forget about that sometimes. But yeah, go ahead, sorry.
He also has the Gear 4th repertoire. I think Gear 4th is kind of like, it depends on what form. Like Tank Man, I'm pretty sure Bam will be fine.
Yeah.
Tank Man has almost no mobility. Baam Man, pretty powerful. But I think if Bam plays ultra defensively and waits it out, he'll probably be able to withstand that. But Snake Man, I feel like he'll get cooked. Because Snake Man is like a perfect combination of power and speed.
And unpredictability with the way it kind of just bounces around. You might think you dodged it, but as soon as you moved your neck to the right, it curved around and it came right back in your face. So yeah.
I'll never forget the first time we went Snake Man and Katakuri dodged the punch
Mhm.
and then it came on his right side. And luckily, he had the foresight to hockey up the side of his cheek before he got punched. But he
Mhm.
was like, I dodged it, and it hit me from the side.
He was like, huh?
It's like, excuse me?
Like, what is going on? Nah, you was mad confused. And I would have been too. I'm like, wait, what's happened? Yeah, I think Snake Man is a good. I kind of agree with you. I think Snake Man would be the ideal form to land some hits on Bam, because Bam is also very capable of fighting while using like his bangs and tension and throwing like his orb at you and things of that nature. Like he doesn't like when he was fighting Ren, he was going into close combat with Ren, and then when he needed to, he would let his orb rain down to destroy the little animals and like little creatures that Ren was summoning to like fight him. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like he has to do one on it. He just have to go like close combat only or zoner only. He can kind of mix it. But Snake Man would give Luffy the ability to have his arms somewhat weave and move around all of the kind of projectiles to get in close on Bam. So that would I think that would work. I think the
No, I was just gonna say, I also feel like the matchup between Luffy and Bam. I think it's kind of funny to say this, but Luffy is a close range fighter. I guess we could extend it to mid range since he can stretch.
yes,
But like at the end of the day, he's throwing punches.
it's his
And
physical
Bam, I
body
feel
hitting
like,
you. Yeah.
yeah, Bam would preferably attack with waves and bangs, but he can fight close range if he needs to. So I guess you could say he's an all rounder. So he's more equipped to handle more types of enemies than Luffy is.
I think another thing that matters in these types of fights, personally speaking, maybe the comments might not agree with this, is aerial freedom and mobility, right?
Yes, that always matters. Is a huge factor.
Especially in a series where not everyone can fly. If it's like Dragon Ball or kind of like Bleach where you can stand on the air, it's a little different. Because even remember, like I'm thinking of Shukishima versus Ikaku. Like I can't stand on the air, bro. Ikaku's like, all right, man, calm down. You know, like that's a big deal. I really do believe that. How do you think that plays into it? Because so like with Gear 5th, I'm not entirely sure how it works. Like he does the cartoon like Road Runner, like whatever, like Looney Tunes run in the air, and he can get some like air stuff. Obviously in Bound Man and stuff, he has like Geppo, Skywalk, if you will, and he can move around. But Bam at this point can legitimately just fly. Like not even Blue Ore, the thing that he took from Mule Love, he can just straight up fly now. How do you think that could help Bam, or Luffy gets around that? Like, do you think that the fact that Luffy's not literally flying, he's more like propelling himself, would give him less freedom in the air?
Yeah, he'll be fine.
Okay.
Because CP9, their whole thing is that they can essentially fly, sort of, with Geppo. And it's pretty much, Sanji does the same thing with Skywalk. So as long as you can maneuver freely in the air, which he can, he'll be fine.
I was kind of thinking that too. Plus, it's not like he can't stretch up there. And it's not like his dumbass would just jump up there and throw a bunch of attacks and then hit the ground and come back up anyway. So there's that. Are there any techniques?
Yes,
yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that's always a point of contention. Like when characters that can fly fight against characters that can't, because Dragon Ball does everything, so it's always great to use Dragon Ball as an example for fighting. But when they were fighting in the 22nd Tenkaichi Budokai with Goku versus Tien, Goku could not fly yet at the time, but Tien could. So when he was fighting against Tien, well, before that, when he was fighting against Tien, he was making it a point not to leap at him when Tien would go in the air and bring the fight to the ground. Because if he went up there, the only way he would be able to dodge is if he fired off a Kamehameha, and that takes stamina. So it would have been a waste.
Well, I was going to ask you if you think there's any technique, ability, or attack that Luffy has that is very dangerous to Bam. Whether it's like the big punch he beat with Kaido. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, he could dodge that. He could dodge that. That'll be fine. But the fucking pretty much everything in Gear 4. So like Jet Culverin, Black Mamba, I guess King Python too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, what I said Python. King Cobra. Yeah, King Cobra. And that's Star Railgun that he hit Kizaru with. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that looked
Nah,
dangerous.
he really had Kizaru. He had Kizaru seeing stars for real.
Kizaru said, "I need a minute, bro."
I can't get up yet, man. I'm sorry.
He said, "My brain hurt. Like, is my brain okay?" Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. Bam
Um,
takes one of those. He might get concussed.
how do you think fast skip works against Luffy? You know how Bam can basically say stop and stop the flow of like things and freeze an opponent for a second or two? Do you think it's something that'll work against Luffy more than one time? I feel like it might work the first time, but very briefly because Luffy's physical strength and willpower, he just move after the fact. But I don't know, like, do you think that that would be dangerous?
Has the properties of that technique been explained? Like, does he stop a body's functions for a set amount of time, or can you use it
Um,
repeatedly?
it's he could, yeah, it's not something, it's not like a hard technique he has to use or like it burns up a lot of energy or whatever, but um his mastery with the technique has increased over time where he's been able to even freeze rankers completely because he paralyzed
Hmm.
Pan was about this one ranker he beat like officially when he challenged him as a quote unquote C rank regular in like chapter like maybe 55ish or so of the third season. But I think it has to do with kind of freezing or reversing the flow of like Shinsu or energy and just stopping someone. It's not like I stopped your heart and bodily functions. It's more like an energy thing. So
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
yeah. And I don't like the thing that I really like. I hate the idea of having to bring this up because I just don't think in this fight it makes sense and it should work. But Bam is also known as in my chat as 25th Kirby. He has technique replication. Anything that he sees or gets hit with, he's technically able to do. I'm not saying Bam is about to start stretching. That's not where I'm going. But what if something like maybe the ability, like he somewhat did this against like not Dumas, what's his name, Vagarov, one of the early season where he's like, it looks like everything that I was doing, he can see a frame ahead, and I don't think that's necessarily cognition, more so that maybe he's telegraphing his attacks and it's easy for Bam to see them and dodge them. But what if he was able to copy something like mantra, like observation hockey? Do you think that's possible?
Mm. It's hard to say because observation hockey is something that takes like, I want to say, intense calm,
Mm-hmm.
and you kind of have to like understand your opponent. Like when Luffy fought Kaido the first, so
Yeah,
I don't think that's something he would be able to copy on the spot.
he'd have to fully understand and grasp what's going on to be able
Yes.
to do it, I guess. Okay, well, that makes sense to me. But yeah, like ultimately, I stand by like what I said earlier. This seems to be more of like a rush down versus a zoner thing because Bam's just got a million things he can throw at you, from piercing Shinsu to bangs to like tension where he puts it in the orb and he like shoots it down with extreme power like his dad used to do V. But the last thing that I want to talk about was kind of his the dark change that happened when he was fighting against White. And when he was fighting against White, he had this black Shinsu rain that was coming down, and White had to literally erect a barrier to protect himself from it. And Bam, I don't know if there's something Bam could just do consciously. It seems to me like he has to be actually genuinely pissed off and upset for it to happen. So I don't know if this is something that he can just do because he hasn't done it since really. But it's something I just wanted to
Mhm.
bring up just an aside because I'm like, that was pretty dangerous, and I didn't think he was at the time ready to beat White, but he ended up getting that W. I know people are gonna say Rack and Aguero came in the end to help him. Whatever, man. He didn't need their help. White literally said that nigga is stronger than him. White is a prideful character. He said that in his head. That guy right now is stronger than me. So I'm taking White's word at face value because I know what type of character he is. I don't think that he's lying about that. And then like the Black March, the needle that he gets from Yuri. Now, that needle's not particularly pointy, but he can fire very powerful projectiles in it, and the Black March can stabilize his kind of like energy and energy output with it, because the Black March likes Bam, thinks he's cute. You remember this from the very first season. So basically Bam was using his powers efficiently during the last station, when Caliban and Haji-san were fighting, and the Black March was kind of able to stabilize that for him. He's gotten a lot stronger and stuff since then, but I don't know. I don't know if the Black March is a big deal personally, because Luffy fights people with weapons all the time, and he's okay. Like Kaido had his big ass club with spikes on it, and he was alright. I mean, I say he's alright. Like he didn't fight for his fucking life, but you get what I mean. He got the W. Like he didn't get knocked out like 8 times, but yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
it's not like, for the people that's listening, it's not like we're saying that Bam is not a capable fighter on his own right, but like in discussions like this, you have to take into fact he has a lot of external factors that contribute to him being what he is at the moment, with all these thorns and all these ancient weapons that are drawn to him, whether it be voluntarily or involuntarily.
and my dude can defend himself with the orb, making the orb defense. He's even broken the orb up to scatter it to block some attacks from Data Jihad, like Black Shinsu Sphere, Shinwan Ryu, which I think a lot of people are going to be like, why did you bring up Shinwan Ryu? Because I have no idea how that would interact with somebody outside the universe. So yeah,
But at the end of the day, when I rate characters that are gonna fight each other, I look at their peak destructive capacity.
Okay.
That's why I don't like pitting Dragon Ball characters against other characters, because they could literally point at a planet and blow it up if they felt like it.
Roshi blew up the moon really early in the series, and Piccolo
Yeah,
did it even early in Z. And it wasn't like he's like charge it. He was like the moon blew it up. Like it was very easy. This is why I tell people stop bringing the Luffy, Ichigo, and like Naruto versus Goku. I don't even think they're beating Z Goku. I really mean that. But anyways, I don't really have much else to say. I'll let the chat and everyone else kind of figure that out, figure the rest out for itself. But if you asked me personally right now, because I don't really know Bam's full capabilities yet, even though I think he's actually going to be a fucking demon and monster when he can combine his powers the way White was saying with the souls and use his powers efficiently, think he could be extremely powerful. But I've seen Luffy go all out, and I think Luffy's overall physical feats have been a bit more impressive, though I do think Bam just has more techniques and more ways to deal with more types of fighters. And again, I think his win condition is keeping Luffy out and not getting his ass beat, knocked out, long enough for maybe Luffy to burn through Snake Man in 5th gear. But then again, the way that 5th could work with like his orb and turning it rubber and reflecting it could go crazy. Plus, remember now, Luffy can also infect his environment, so he can just kind of bounce around shit and kind of like Spring Hopper from Bellamy, and just kind of
yeah.
increase his speed like that. So I don't know, interesting thing, but like you said, it's difficult to do because at the end of the day, we have not seen Bam at his absolute best. So I'll leave it at that for now.
Yes, Monkey D. Luffy is the man who's gonna be the king of the pirates.
Bam's gonna see the stars or something. All right, bye.
I
I don't know. I don't even know what his motivation at this point really is. I don't know. Rachel, not really. So, well, yeah.
Rachel!
Let us know what you guys think in the comment section below. And stay safe. Your CBL.
In my drugs, pour it in my cup, sitting in my darkness with my ghouls, we pouring up. I don't really give a fuck, I don't really have a say. You tell me that I suck, I tell you get up out my face. You got tears in your eyes, looking like a fool.